Hey guys, welcome back to the Basswood Carving Chatter. We're calling it is our podcast, and today my guest is Jeff from JefroCarves. I'm sure most of you guys know who he is. He's bearing the cold weather for us today, sitting out in his garage and
the old carving spot.
Yep.
I got near them anyway.
Yep. So what's going on, man? Outside of it being cold in Kentucky?
Yeah. Yesterday it's 66 degrees, and today I get up and there's frost on the ground.
I know it was beautiful. It was. Yeah, it was beautiful yesterday. I think next week we're supposed to get a little snow even.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about you, but this is not my favorite time of year. I'm a spring and summer. Even I like the cool weather in the fall too, but man, once it drops down and I got chickens, so my chicken water freezes and I got to bring all the things in and get all the ice out of them so how's the dogs doing?
Doing fine.
I love them little guys, man.
Duke is he's out here. He's always out here with me.
Yeah.
Garden, so he's out here right now. You want to come up there, buddy? You might be able to show him.
Yeah. Now, are they brothers or are they related, both of them, or?
They're half.
Half.
The same mother. So,
okay.
One is about 3 years older than the other, and they're both Corgis. They're both males. They're got the same mom, and
yeah.
They're pretty good little guys.
They're supposed to be some of the smartest dogs, I believe. Am I correct on that?
Really smart.
They are.
Herding dogs.
Herding, yep.
And I had a story once upon a time. I keep looking down at him because he's
wanting his treat.
Treats, yeah. And I'm not going to be able to get him up here because he's too heavy and But anyway, yeah, I took him with me once upon a time when he was a puppy, and went out, borrow a tiller or whatever we were doing. Took him with me. He got loose out in it was a farm.
Yeah.
Got loose and took off and went straight for the cattle. And it took me about an hour to get him, but it was fun to watch him.
Watch him work.
Watch him, and it was like it's bred into him.
It is because I have shepherds, German shepherds, and that's what we've had. What's crazy? We have shepherds, and then we have a Chihuahua. Right. And I'm telling you what, that little Chihuahua, he controls. He's his little dog, big bite. You know what I mean?
And shepherds?
But yeah, my shepherds, what was funny was you talk about herding dogs. My chickens got out. A few of my chickens got out, and I was trying to get them back in the pen. I got a little fence. It's one of those little electric fences, and it's flexible. You can stretch it out and make different size pens out of it and everything. It's I forget who makes it, but that's where my chickens stay in, and they stay in there, but occasionally they'll get the urge to fly out. And I was out there trying to get my chickens back in, and usually I can just lift the thing up and they'll go underneath of it. And I was chasing them around. They kept going around the pen, and they kept getting away from me. And my wife had let the dogs out, and here they came. And I thought, oh no. And they usually don't bother the chickens because they've been around long enough. They know that the chickens belong here. And they started herding the chickens. They seen what I was trying to do, and they herded the chickens back, and then I lifted the fence, and they went in, and I was like, wow, good girls, good girls. But you talk about it's crazy, their nature. They want to, they want to do that. But, yeah, I like those little guys, man. They look cool. Ours are from kind of the same thing too. We've got 4 of them. My son's got 2 and we got 2. Uh-huh. So usually during the daytime when they're both at work, him and his fiance, when they're at work, they usually bring the dogs over here. So his dogs are pretty much grown up here too. So we got 4 of them. Every time I try to do a carving video, man, it can be quiet, and then all of a sudden they all 4 start going crazy. I say, yep. every time I do a carving video.
Well, if any of your watchers have seen my videos, they know that Duke stays under my feet
Yeah,
90% of the time that I'm out here. Now,
yeah,
the other, we still call him a puppy, because he's about a year old now, and he likes to wander a little bit. So I don't let him out here near as often as I do Duke, because Duke's, he's 4 years old now, and
yeah,
he'll stick around
yeah.
for the most
They're
part.
pretty quiet though. I don't hear them when you're doing your videos.
He's pretty quiet too.
Yeah,
I keep him in treats, and he
yeah,
knows that if he's quiet,
yeah.
another.
So what got you into carving?
Um, there was a piece that I started on 20 plus years ago. I was camping with my wife, and I just picked up a stick. It was one of those times where you were relaxing and
Yeah,
out and about in the woods, and I picked up a stick and had a pocket knife with me, and I can even show it to you, I think. And all it was just the kind of the top of a piece of, I don't even know what it is, piece of wood that I picked up, a stick that I picked up.
yeah,
And then pandemic rolled. I kept this little stick, and I just made a little face. You can see a little.
yeah, yeah.
What it looks like. But I kept that stick for 20 plus years.
Wow.
Most men have a little keepsake box.
Yeah,
I've got one that I keep stuff from my dad, and I pulled this back out during the pandemic, and came out to the garage one day and just started hacking away at it, and I made a little. It had a knot in it.
yeah,
That was in there, so that was an obvious mouth for me.
yeah.
Nose on there, and I put him a little tree on the backside, and then I flipped it over, and I keep going the wrong way.
I know. Yeah,
And I called him the fish man, or I threw
yeah,
feathers on the top, and
yeah.
that was the first piece that I ever worked on. Other than there's the knife that I started. There's the knife that I started with,
Yeah,
and I thought that was the best knife going.
yeah. Alpha knife.
What to do is break off
Yeah,
my X-Acto, and I had another sharp knife, So
yep. Oh, I know.
for me,
Yep. I worked in the printing industry for 35 years, and that was one of my main knives right there that you had in your hand.
Yep.
So I know those Alpha knives.
Now, they would
And you,
break off sometimes when you didn't
yeah,
want to, but it
yeah,
got me going, I guess. It got me rolling.
yeah.
But on the other hand, I've got an uncle, and I've talked about my uncle
Right.
several times on my channel, and he's been carving since he was in his 20s, and he's 80 years old now. So a lot of time that he's put into carving. It was just a hobby for him. Started out as a hobby, and he got to where he was taking his carvings to state parks around the state.
Wow.
He had carvings all over the state, in just the state parks. So he was kind of a guy that I always saw his carvings, and really enjoyed, when I'd visit my uncle and seeing what he had, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that all said and done, he probably had a whole lot to do with me getting started back.
Yeah.
He had actually bought me for Christmas one year. He bought me a set, a little carving set, and it had a lot of X-Acto type of blades in it.
Right.
interchangeable type blades that you could take off and
Hmm.
put another blade on.
Yeah.
Certain uh, triangle shapes and flat shapes and all kinds of shapes
Yeah.
that you could put on this X-Acto knife. So it was, I guess at that time, I thought even that I, that's probably where a lot of it came from, So
Right.
that's
Right.
what I attribute a lot of it to.
Yeah. I think the COVID situation, and it got a lot of people in carving, because they
Oh
were
yeah,
all sitting around, nothing to do. And
absolutely.
I had started a little bit before the COVID because I had joined a carving club.
Yeah.
Actually, I told the story before, but me and my wife went to a carving show. We were just driving by the up in Florence, and there was a sign that said carving show. And I was like, wow, let's go in here. We ain't got nothing to do. Let's go in here and check this out.
Right.
And I went in there and I was just amazed at the carvings, the cowboys and
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that. Because I always liked the cowboys. My grandpa used to sit around when we'd go fishing, and he'd always pick up a stick and pull out his pocket knife. And
Uh-huh.
it's actually the pocket knife I started carving with,
Well,
because I got it after he passed away. But he would carve little bears and little dogs and little animals, and give them to us. But now I went to the carving show and I was like, wow, how do I get involved, And they were like, oh, you got a class right in your hometown.
right.
And I was like, really? I didn't even know, up at the vocational school. They're like, yeah, here's the guy that teaches it, and got hooked up with him. But do you got any carving clubs around your area or
I don't
anything?
think there's anything real close.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe the closest thing is, and there might be something in Lexington, but
no,
probably the ones that you've gone to in North
yeah,
Kentucky.
Taylor Mill, yeah,
Probably the
yeah,
closest thing for me, which is a little farther from me.
yeah, yeah. Well, we have a guy that's in our club that comes from Lexington,
Uh,
because he said he was actually one of my subscribers, just subscribed and heard me talk about the area and stuff, kind of like how me and you hooked up.
but
It's like, oh, you live over there, and
yeah,
I was like, I said, yeah. He says, there's no carving clubs in Lexington. And I said, really? That's kind of amazing. I would have think as big as Lexington is, and the history of carving, in the Smoky Mountains area and
I didn't
and
think so.
and all that, you would think Lexington or, something. And he said, no. So he comes up on our Saturdays when we do a Saturday carving. You might have to come up there and
Everybody
hang out with us some Saturday. We carve from like 10 in the morning to like 3 in the
do
afternoon.
you?
So, yeah, on Saturday. We do it once a month. It's just once a month thing. And
Yeah.
I'll let you know because we have little seminars, like we have little classes that one of the guys will teach. We've done the cowboys and we've done the shelf elves and,
Right.
and different things. So I'll let you know when we got something coming up. Maybe you'll
Okay.
come up with us. I just find a lot of enjoyment out of the community, be it just sitting around and shooting the bull with a bunch of old carvers, and
Sure. Yeah.
it's
Well, I love
amazing.
going out to see my uncle and have him tell stories and
Yeah,
and just give you little pointers on this and that. And
yeah,
I'm lucky to have him as a guide.
yeah. I say the same thing. I'm lucky to have, because I have two clubs. I have one in the east side, and then I have the one in Taylor Mill there in Kentucky that I go to, and they're
Mhm.
each about 40 minutes away. So it's, I can, and they stagger their meetings on Mondays. So one Monday I can go there in Taylor Mill, and the other Monday I can go to the Eastgate area, and it's kind of cool. But I've been pretty busy, and I've only been making it to one of them lately. But yeah, I think the COVID has really got a lot of new carvers just because people were sitting around. Who I know I've heard you talk about it, but maybe some of the other people. Who was one of your influences on YouTube that you started watching?
Um, the very first one was Linker.
Yeah,
Linker was the first one that I started watching. Uh, Probably right after I started hacking away at that that little piece of stick that I've had for 20 years.
yeah,
And at that time, I'd pull somebody up and see what was going on out there on YouTube. And Doug's entertaining. Everybody knows that Doug's
Yeah.
entertaining, and he's got another side of him that I enjoy watching too.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
camping and the canoeing, and I
Yeah.
love to watch that because
Yes.
we don't have what he's got access to.
Oh, I know. I
We
know.
just don't. We don't
Yeah.
have that here.
Him and Joe, young Joseph, he calls him.
Yeah.
I love watching them two guys get
Yep.
together, man.
I just watched Joe video last night. He put a new one out last
yeah,
night.
yeah.
They've already got 1.5 feet of snow. And
Oh, I know. I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen it pop up on my thing. But yeah, for me, I think the first one I got watching was Gene.
Yeah.
Gene Messer, because he was one of the first ones that popped up. Because once I came home from the carving show, you know, I was all excited and I had to grab my pocket knife and I was like, I wonder if there's any carving videos on YouTube, you know, because I had never even searched or anything. And I was all excited about getting involved with the club, you know, and I was like, well, I'd like to know a little bit of something before I go in there.
Sure.
And, you know, I don't want to feel like a dummy
Yeah.
going in there and not know what's going on. And Gene was carving a little totem pole, I think it was, or a little totem pole. And I started whittling away at one, you know, with this pocket knife and a piece of pine wood, a piece of chunk off of a 2x4, you know, until I knew what basswood was and everything. But, and then you look back at Gene, and he's like one of the originals, you know. I mean, his videos are like 15 years old, you know, and it's like, man, here I could have started 15 years ago.
When I started watching Gene myself, I would look at I looked at those dates, and I didn't really realize it until I'd seen 5, 6, 7 of them, how far back that Gene actually went.
Yeah,
and how long that he had been involved in putting out just putting out the videos. Not to mention how long he's been involved in carving. But
right.
For 12, 13, 14 years, and it's pretty amazing that the longevity there with YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, and he kind of inspired me to do the videos. I mean, he's got a video that he put up about, you know, encouraging, you know, people that wood carvers to put up videos, you know, and I was always like, well, I'm not good enough to do any videos or anything, you know. I enjoy watching them and stuff, and I'm like you, I sat through a bunch of linkers, you know, Doug's carvings, and carved along with him on the YouTube, and I was like, man, I really like this stuff, you know. And then I was my first video actually did, like, it was just a seminar that I attended over at the wood carving club, and it was horrible recording, you know. I mean, the camera was making noise, and I was knocking it over and all kinds of other stuff and thumping and when I'm carving and that. And I threw that up on the channel thinking, you know, I'm going to put this up and see if it gets any views or anything. And obviously it didn't get any views, you know. And so then I just started putting mine up a little bit, you know, and it was just kind of the momentum once it gets going, you know. It's but I followed you since your first the frog video, when you did the frog, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I like his frog, you know. And then you sucked me right in, man. I started
the very first video. It was, you know, that was a camera ago, and because I would film on my laptop, and from about 10 feet away and try to zoom it in just a little bit, and had my carving like way over here, way up here, down here. Fine. Can't see what you're doing, buddy. We like the end product there, but you gotta show us what you're doing.
Man, I got to start all over again. It's crazy.
I actually redid that video, so it's if you want to see it.
Yeah.
The first one, you know, I've got a newer one that was a whole lot better in focus and in screen.
Yeah. It's amazing how much we've learned since we started, you know. It's like how many videos in the beginning where, like you say, you're carving away and you don't realize you're off camera, and then you go back and look at the video and you're like, oh, well, shoot, half the video, I'm off camera. You know, you end
Yeah,
up
90
becoming.
videos later, I feel a little bit better about that first one as opposed to my last one that I did.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
but it's hard to believe that it's been 90 videos.
yeah. 90 videos. Wow, that's that's got me beat. I don't even remember how many I have, but
I,
now you like to do yours in parts too,
yeah,
right?
I do.
So
So
um,
that adds to the total.
it, yeah,
There's been some of my carvings have been 4 videos
yeah,
just to make one, including the painting,
yeah.
and so it's that adds to that.
It definitely helps with the editing and the uploading time. I know because
Yeah,
most of mine are at least an hour plus, 15 minutes or whatever. And it's amazing how fast time goes when you're carving, and then you realize, like, man, I've been carving. This video is going to be freaking 2 hours long if I
yeah,
don't do some
yep.
editing to it, you know. And then, like you said, I mean, to upload it, it's like we got to wait forever. But what encouraged you to get started doing the videos?
That's a good question. I guess I thought to myself, since I was going to be here, retired type of guy that not a whole lot going on at home, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And, uh, I guess I could, I only became familiar with YouTube right before I started carving as well. That's kind of what got me involved with YouTube uh, at all. So started looking around at those guys that were carving, and not to say that I thought that I was anywhere near what those guys could do, but I I kind of thought that there was maybe some room. There was
Hmm.
space in there for uh, somebody to come on and start doing more YouTube videos. And
Yeah.
if you didn't, you had guys that were really good. You had guys that were mediocre. You had guys that were just getting started, like I was. And
Right.
I thought, well, maybe I can give this a shot. Why not? I'm
Yeah.
home a lot now, and uh, I've got a 14-year-old that's pretty tech savvy, and he could probably help
Yeah.
start it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank gosh for those kids that
Oh
know how to
yes,
work computers. I know I work with my son. Of course, I've been on the computer since computers, saying how it's dating myself here, but since the very first little Macintosh that was about 13 inches tall.
right.
Um, and so I pretty much evolved with computers. But man, I'll tell you, uh, my son he's amazing on it sometimes. If there's a technical question, always go to your kids
No, absolutely.
because they
He's
do
always my
streaming.
stuff.
They stream gaming and stuff too. So
Oh yeah, yeah. My
they
14-year-old does too.
they know all that stuff. So it's like, yeah. But so what would you say is one of your favorite carvings that you did? Which one did you?
Um, probably the little sports van guy that I
Sports
did.
fan?
Um,
I got a
I
question about the sports fan guy.
I had a lot of questions, or I had a lot of comments about: is this a selfie? Is this you? Is this
That was my question.
on Instagram? I got even questions about, and I said, well, I
Yeah,
probably was when
yeah.
you really think about it.
I said, man, he carved himself. Now, is that talent or what? That you can carve yourself.
Right in there somewhere.
Yeah, opposite of what you think.
I don't have my glasses
Some
on.
mirror.
I don't have my glasses on because of the glare, but I think
Yeah,
where he is. But anyway,
yeah,
he did, and he did pretty good for me
yeah.
on YouTube. He got some views, and I actually did that carving at my mother's house, an older house that she has, but it was a different setting, and I thought, well, maybe it's the setting that people like. They don't like the carving; they just like where I was. I was on her deck, at her house, and for whatever reason, it did better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was that was one of my more probably my favorite.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those guys that only likes to carve something once. It's like it's so hard to want to go carve because you're always wanting to carve something new,
Absolutely.
and something different, and it's like sometimes for my videos I'll carve one or two, just so I know what I'm going to say and how I'm going to do it,
Right.
and get my plan down or whatever. But that's probably one of the things that causes me to take a lot of time in putting a video out, is because sometimes I just feel like I'm not confident enough maybe about what I'm going to be doing with it, and it's like, well, maybe I better carve one of these first. And then I found out that sometimes the ones I just wing it and go with, they end up being my best ones. And it's like, well, should I waste my time carving this twice or three times, and then if I do, then the second time I carve it, I try to do a little something different. Just maybe I can change his hat, or maybe I can change his beard a little bit so he's not exactly the same.
Something that you didn't quite like about the first one,
Yeah, yeah,
integrating the second one.
yeah. Yeah, I did the one, the pig, the little pig, the barbecue pig,
Yeah.
and I got that one done, and I got the video all done and uploaded, and I thought, I forgot to put a tail on the pig. He don't even have a tail. I said, well, nobody's probably going to notice. Oh yeah, somebody noticed. How come you didn't put a tail on the pig? I was like, shoot. Excuse me. I wasn't going to carve the pig over again, because it was just like, well, maybe next time I'll put a tail on the pig.
I did a snowman last Christmas, and I really liked how he turned out. That might he might be another favorite.
Yeah.
But, a lot of I put a lot of my carvings on Facebook also. So
Yeah.
a lot of my local friends, because I don't have a JefroCarves site on Facebook, page on Facebook. I just have my, it's just Jeff Jenkins.
Yeah.
So a lot of people saw it on Facebook and said, "Oh my goodness, I got to have one of those. When can you have? Could I have one of these in with the colors this, or could I have one that's?" So last year I did. I don't know. I don't even know how many. It was a lot. But the hard thing was I did them out of 2x2, out of 2x2 wood, and
Yeah.
you know what 2x2 is like. It's if you're used to doing 1x1 carvings, or 1.5 by 1 or 1.25, whatever, 2x2 is chunky.
Yeah.
It
feels like a piece of firewood in your hand.
So, every one of them was taking like a solid day to do.
Yeah.
Because there was so much wood to take out, and then the painting.
Yeah.
Another almost a day.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of painting to it, and time, and that was back before I pulled out I finally decided that using the hairdryer was probably a good thing.
Yeah.
When you're painting.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely speeds up your drying time a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that video is pretty good. It's got almost 2,500 views on your snowman video. That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
But that even on your favorite videos or your favorite carvings, you still look back and see things that,
yeah,
if I'd just done this, that would have looked so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the way it is. Like I was talking with Jeff last weekend, I said, I've probably got 5 cowboys up there on the shelf that are maybe done, but not done. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to finish them because I keep going back and saying, well, maybe I can do this and put this little detail on there and that. And I asked some of the carving guys at the club, I was like, when are you really ever finished with a carving, And most of them were like, oh, you're not really, and even when you get it done, you're going to see something to it that you're like, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I would have did that, and it's like, with my cowboys, I don't sit down and carve a whole cowboy. I'll carve on it for a while. It's kind of my relaxation, my fun carving time, that I like to just sit there and just, carve a little bit away. And
well, those guys are like a foot tall too, aren't they?
9 to 10 inches. Most of them are 9 to 10 inches tall.
That's a big old honking piece of wood.
Yeah, and well, with the rough outs, it's not as bad because they have a little bit of contour already to them,
Right.
So you got some things to hold on to. But man, when you grab that 2-inch block of wood, and first thing I got to do is start taking off those corners, because it's like, man, this is uncomfortable squeezing and holding on to this and using a big old 1.5 inch and 3/4 roughing knife.
Oh, I know what you mean.
I got little hands and I like the small, thin handles. And
then the smaller you go, and we've talked about this before, but the smaller you go, there's a lot more detail to get into with those little knives. And so there's good points and bad points about smaller blocks, and there's good points and bad points about the big stuff too.
Yeah.
You get a lot more done with the big stuff. You can get a lot more detail in there. You get a lot more eye features and nose and ears, but on the smaller ones, if you try to go that route, you don't have a lot of space to work with there.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think the smaller ones make you a better carver, because you do have to put, you got to get a pair of eyes and a nose in a little 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch piece of spot on the wood, and just drawing them out and planning everything out, and it's just like, I feel like the little ones really help build your skills, at least for me anyway.
Right.
And I got one coming up that I'm doing, that I did a bigger model of it, and then I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? And I'm like, all right, well, if I can do this same carving on a 1x1x3, I'm going to have to pinch and squeeze and tighten all this detail, but I want to make it look exactly like my big one, my bigger one that I did. So yeah, it does. It does.
It makes you appreciate the space. If you go from a little something if you've been doing several 1x1s for a while, and you go to something a little bit bigger, for relief, more there to work with.
Well, I mean, when I did that spoon carving video, it made me a lover of basswood. Because I'm telling you what, man, honking away on that walnut and that cherry, I was like, man, I sure do appreciate basswood. I've never carved on any harder thing than my piece of walnut or a piece of basswood or a cherry.
You got pieces of walnut, and I'm just going to throw this in here because this is kind of how I got started too. I've got a black walnut tree.
Okay.
Backyard. When I first got started, I didn't fool with basswood yet. I mean, I was going cheap because I was hacking away with an X-Acto knife. And well, the first couple of pieces that I did, and in the meantime, my family had, for my birthday, had bought me a set of carving knives, just a cheap set off of Amazon. That was my first carving. Carving, just those guys that kind of look like beaver. Those guys, that little guy, and it's got a spoon carving foot blade with it too. But anyway, I know you recognize that.
Yeah.
That's a linker.
Owl.
Linker owl that is done out of black walnut. You can see the...
Wow, that's really light color for walnut.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, some of these other ones are, but you can see the dark in there a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's another one. They are kind of light, aren't they?
Yeah,
But they've got some
that's
dark
neat.
to 'em.
Yeah, yeah. Now the light part, is that the outer part, or was it light all the way through like that?
It was fairly light.
Really?
Through, yeah.
Yeah, because I got some black walnuts in my yard too, and I've
There's a little darker.
yeah,
Has got some darkness to him.
yeah.
He's just kind of a little. I can't figure out.
Here you go. Yeah,
He's got a little darkness, but when you put, oh my goodness, when you put a little stain or a little something on there to make that
oh yeah,
it really
yeah.
shines.
And that's the thing with the spoons I did, the cherry and the walnut, man. I put a little coconut oil on them, and man, it was just like, wow, this is a beautiful piece of wood. And I actually got mine from a buddy that works in the tree industry and cutting trees and stuff. And I said, I need some wood for some spoons, you know. I said, I'd like to have a couple pieces of cherry and a couple pieces of walnut if you can find them, you know. And he brought me over like 5 or 6 firewood sized pieces, you know. And man, there was some beautiful wood. But man, I'm telling you what. Now with the walnut and stuff though, now I didn't do a lot of detail work on the spoons and that I did because I just wanted to basically carve out a spoon. But from what I understand, you can put good detail on there easier, don't chip out as easy and stuff. But man, I don't know, I just really like that basswood.
That Amazon knife, I chipped that guy about 3 times right after I got it, and I thought, well, I've ruined that one. And, for a long time, and I tried to strop it out. Well, you can't strop.
Right.
Strop nicks out of your blade. And
Right.
Work on them for I don't know how long it would take.
Yeah.
But I do have, not to change the subject or anything, but I've got this guy right here, and I'm sure they're not even sold anymore. This came from my wife used to have. My wife's parents used to have a hardware store here in this little town, and called Tennessee Sticks, and they've got these ceramic
rods. Yeah.
And a piece of
Oh yeah. Yeah.
here both ways,
Okay.
kind of like that,
Oh yeah.
and you just 90 degrees straight down, and it doesn't take much, and that's what it took to get those nicks out of that first knife that I had.
Yeah.
So I got the nicks out, and then I took to stropping
Yeah.
that, and it came back to life. I mean, it really that was cheap. It was a cheap Amazon knife, but that thing really gets sharp.
Yeah.
It stayed sharp. That was the first one I've had for what? Close to a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And it stays sharp if I strike.
Yeah. Now you like the flex cut knives,
I do.
right? That's what you use. I do too. I like the flex cuts, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a guy thing, but for me anyway, because my dad was like that. But I like the different knives. I gotta buy knives. We went to a carving show here a while back, and before the COVID and everything, and I was over by the knife table, you know, and my wife was like, "What are you doing?" You know, I'm just looking at these knives. She's like, "You gonna buy another knife?" I was like, "Yeah, thinking about it." She's like, "Why? You got all kinds of knives at home." I'm like, "I just need one more knife, just one more knife, you know." And I think since then I've bought 2 or 3. Our carving club does a knife giveaway, like once a month. Everybody that's there shows up for the meeting gets a ticket, you know, and then they draw and they give away a knife every month, and it's really cool. I've never won a knife since I've been there in 3 years. I've never won a knife. And some of this, like, if you win, you can't win next month, you know?
Yeah.
And my carving teacher, he's got more knives than anybody I've ever seen. I was telling Jeff about it too, did some work on his computer, and he was like, "Pick you one of those knives out of there," you know? Not like he has any shortage of knives, but all of a sudden he wins knives at the carving club. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to win a knife, because you can buy more chances, like if you want to buy 5 or 10 chances for $1 a piece, you can always up your chances. And
Sure.
I'm always like, I don't go more than $5, because the money goes back to the club and they buy more knives so I don't mind donating another $5, but
Right.
that's about what I'm doing, is donating. I said, man, if I ever win one, this is going to be the most expensive knife I've ever paid for.
But put 200 in to get one.
Yeah. But I mean, I love the flex cut. They sharpen up really nice.
They do.
And
do.
you strap them up, and
Yeah, I love this little guy right here.
Yep. That's one of my favorites. I've actually got 2 of them.
I think it's called a KN19 or
Yeah.
KN13.
Yeah.
What it's called. But
I had.
is you can do it. You can work a lot on an 1.5 piece. With
Yeah.
you can do a lot of all your detail work with that.
Yeah. My son actually bought me a set for my birthday when I was first getting into carving, and I had one of those already, and he bought me the set that's got the little detail knife. Yeah. It's got the longer one, and then it's got I think it had the chip carving one, the one I see you use sometimes too.
Yeah.
It's the rounded, kind of curved rounded blade at the top and that. And he's like, oh, I got you a set of knives. I was like, cool. I was like, well, I got one of these already, but you know what? That's one of my most used knives right there,
It is. I love it. I love that little guy.
Yeah.
My neighbor gave me, not to change the subject again, sorry, but.
No, you're fine. That's what.
Lamora, I don't know.
Yeah.
You recognize Lamora?
There you go. Yep.
This is more of a
bushcraft. Yeah.
Type of knife. I mean, this sucker is that.
Yeah.
That knife is probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. But I tell you what, it will get sharp.
I've seen you take some chunks of wood off with that thing before.
And yeah, if I've got something big that I'm working on to start out with, to rough out with,
yeah,
I'll get that guy out. But my neighbor came over with it one day. He was selling some knives, and he wanted me to just try it out when I was first starting out. And it's just so big that you can't do a whole lot with it.
Yeah.
With carving.
Right.
You can rough out, but that thing will. I just love how it sharpens.
Yeah. There's more knives. I don't have any, but I've thought about adding one of those to my collection.
Yeah, if I had something a little smaller, I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, I bought a lion's knife at a carving show, and I started using that, and I really liked that, and then. It was kind of one of my favorites. And then when I worked on my instructor's computer, he was like, he unrolled this tool roll, and it had like 30 knives in it, and he's like, pick you a knife out of there. And I was like, okay. And I picked me out one of those, and he said, I know you like lion's knives, these are all lion's knives, and picked one out. And then he was like, pick another one out. Because I'd worked on his computer, and he's like, you think that'll settle us up? We'll be. I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Right.
Well, this is better than cash, But I used them, and he used it the other day. He was like, wow, that's a nice knife. I said, yeah, that was one of your knives. He's like, I gave you this knife. That's one of my good knives. But he's funny like that. Back. Yeah. It's like, well, what do you need it for? You got another 40 knives in that tool roll, every size and shape.
Honestly, I told myself in the beginning, and I still consider myself a beginner. In the beginning, a newbie, whatever you want to call it. I told myself I would not buy a bunch of expensive stuff until I knew that I was going to continue to do this. I really enjoyed and loved the hobby.
Right.
And before I would spend a bunch of money on it. So I'm kind of still there. I'm still there. When I found that flex cut for, I don't know, $21 or $22, I thought I'll probably be with this knife for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just can't sharpen anymore or whatever. But that's just I'm kind of cheap that way, you know.
Well, I
No,
mean, it makes sense. I see these guys at the carving club, and they have these big old tackle boxes full of knives and
sure.
everything, but they're always using the same knife.
Yeah,
I mean, you find what you like and what's comfortable, and
sure. And don't get me wrong. If one of my guys, one of my watchers says, "I've got a knife for you. I'd like to send it to you,"
yeah,
we'll say, "Well, sure, send it
sure,
on."
sure.
I've had a guy that's been trying to send me some knives for quite a while, and the reason it really stuck out in my mind was because he had some. Watch me not be able to think of the name of them. The knives that everybody wants.
All the Helvey.
The Helvies. He's got a few Helvies in there, and he's been trying to get in touch with me, and I keep telling him that just email me and I'll send you what you need. And
Yeah,
I don't know. It
yeah,
just hasn't happened. But I'd love to have a Helvey. I'm just
yeah.
to see what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah, I don't have one of those either. I don't. It's the waiting time, I guess, almost like custom made for you. And I mean, if you by some chance you ever get with a carving club, your wife's going to sell all your knives when you die
Oh, I
at the
know.
carving
I
club
know.
anyway, because it's like we've had a couple. Rest in peace, my friends, but we've had a few of our carvers pass away, and the first thing they do is their wives show up with their knives for sale. So you always got to make sure you got a little cash.
Uh,
And I mean, I wouldn't blame my wife either. She's not going to carve with them, so I wouldn't blame her if she sold them or gave them away or whatever. But
right.
I always met the first time it happened, I didn't have any cash on me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And they was like, hey, somebody passed away. There's all their knives up on the table, and everybody's browsing and looking, and they gave away tickets, and whoever number got called, you got your first choice and all that. And I didn't have any cash with me at all, and I was about tempted to go to the ATM, but I knew by the time I got back, these knives were
It'll all
gone.
be gone.
Yeah, yeah. And then he had a really nice set of the little Dockard tools, the
Yeah.
little, and they're not cheap.
Right.
They're not cheap. And one of the fellows bought like a whole set there. It wasn't the full set, but there was probably 5 or 6 of the little Dockards in there, and got all this for like $10. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, I got to start bringing cash with me in case something
Yeah.
comes along, because I think probably those would have cost about $100 or so,
Yeah.
for what he ended up getting, and they just had a $10 price tag on them. So, and
Well, let me ask you something. And I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time, but I've put things on my videos about how I finish, what I do to finish carvings. What do you do after your paint? Do you do anything after paint at all?
oh, you mean you're talking about like with linseed oil, the
Anything at
burnt
all? Yeah,
the
or before paint
yeah.
to prep the.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I just did on those trees that I did, the spiral
Yeah.
trees that I did on the painting. I was curious to find out. Well, now my instructor, like when we do our cowboys and stuff, if we're in a class and we're doing a class, he has a big old bucket of boiled linseed oil,
Right.
and he'll bring them. And when we're all finished, we'll dip them in the
Uh,
boiled linseed oil. Because he's got like a 5-gallon bucket of it, and you can dip them down in there, and
sure.
you can kind of let them in there for a few minutes. He'll be like, leave them in there for a couple minutes, let them soak up, and then it preserves it a lot better. And then we paint them after
Right.
that. So we do the boiled linseed oil, and I did the same thing on my trees. I thought, well, I'm gonna put some boiled linseed on a couple of them, and then
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna put boiled linseed on them. Because I was planning on airbrushing them anyway, because I didn't want to sit there and paint green on 5 trees with a brush.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, this fast way is going to be just for me to airbrush all the green on first.
Right.
And I did 2 with boiled linseed, and I did the rest no boiled linseed.
Okay.
And the boiled linseed ones, what I noticed was that you could see the grain a lot better
Uh-huh.
through the paint after
Uh-huh.
I painted it the transparent green on there. And I really liked the way that turned out.
Right.
But I was in the process of making the painting video for those trees, so I didn't want to stop and go back and but I also wanted to see what they look like. And the trees that didn't have the boiled linseed on them, they really soaked up the paint, but it didn't seem like the grain. It seemed like the grain soaked up the paint and kind of hid the grain a little bit, if that makes sense.
Use the linseed oil on.
The ones that I didn't use the linseed oil on, they really soaked up the paint,
Yeah, they do.
and they looked, almost flat looking.
Yeah.
Not that I wanted them to be shiny. I just wanted to be able to see that grain through there.
Right.
Because for me, painting is the hardest part.
Yeah.
I just have. It's not that I don't enjoy the painting, but I hate painting.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny because me and Jeff were talking about it because he's got a whole bunch of Vikings that he hasn't painted yet, and I said, it's not that I hate the painting as much as I don't feel as comfortable. I look at some of these guys' carvings at the club, and man, their paint just looks like a stain.
Right.
It looks like a well applied stain.
Right.
And I'm just not at that point yet. I can't, I mix too much water, and then I try to go again, and then it gets darker, and then it looks streaky. So the painting part is definitely something I have to put a lot of time on. Now, I did switch and go to using my airbrush paints, which are they're transparent. Some of them are. Some of my colors are transparent. So I really found out that I didn't have to water them down, and I was getting that look that I wanted by using the transparent paints. But I don't have a wide variety of colors like I have with, the apple barrel, because when I got into it, obviously I had to go to Walmart and get.
It looked like you had a lot more to choose from when it came to your air.
Yeah, and there's a lot more different colors in the airbrush paints than there is with the apple barrel and the folk art and stuff like that. There's a lot more variety of colors,
Right.
But the downside is they're more expensive and you don't get as much paint,
Right.
But I just struggle with that getting that right balance of water and paint. But yeah, and finish answering your question. I don't really put anything on my carvings after I'm done. And I've noticed that my wife likes to sit some of them in the window,
Yeah.
and I've noticed like the back sides of them, the paint's faded from sitting in the window because our kitchen window gets pretty good light through it, and when sun beats down on it. So I do have a UV spray that I bought, but I haven't tried it on the carvings yet. What? I know you like the boiled linseed oil.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I've dabbled with, and I put it in a big old
Mason jar. Yep.
big mason jar just so that I can get it
Sealed.
piece down in there,
Yeah.
and it seals it up real good, and I'm
Yeah.
use it over and over. But it gets a little tacky after you've used it for a while.
It's stringy.
It's almost like it clots a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know if it's pieces of the wood that come off, and so just something to think about.
Yeah, well, and just because you're on that point there, I had a little mason jar, one of the small ones that you get at Walmart and stuff. I had one of those, and I had my boiled linseed oil in there, and I guess I didn't have it sealed all the way, and it had a big old thick skin on the top of it where the air got in. So I took some saran wrap and folded it over like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Then put the lid on top of that and screwed it down, and that seemed to keep it from skinning up.
Well, yeah, and another thing that will help is that if you use some mineral spirits, I keep a little baby jar,
Okay.
food jar of mineral spirits, and I'll sometimes mix like 1 to 3, something like that.
Okay.
Mainly, if I want to just lighten up the linseed oil a little bit, because if the instructions on my can of linseed oil that came said that you should mix it.
Yeah.
Most of them I don't.
Right.
Darker color. So
Right.
Mix the linseed oil with color.
Yeah, my instructor uses was it burnt sienna and burnt umber
Umber.
He'll use different ones of that, and it's really cool because the flesh tones look really good. I mean, on the cowboys.
That I started
Yeah,
using it was because my flesh tones that I was trying to paint on my carvings was awful.
I agree with you. It's hard to get that flesh tone look.
When I started using the linseed oil, I was really pleased with it.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Good tip. It's a good tip, guys. So there
Even
you.
after I do paint, I do sometimes, actually most of the time now, I'll use a little bit of beeswax.
Beeswax. Yeah.
It's just straight beeswax. It smells like beeswax to me. It
Yeah.
beeswax, and
Yeah.
it just it gives it a kind of a sheen to your carving, and I think it helps preserve a little bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to try that. I thought about that too. I've seen Linker and a couple other people use
Yeah,
the beeswax on it. So
but I really like it.
yeah. So you don't put the boiled linseed on after you paint, or have you ever done that?
Linseed oil on before I paint.
Right.
Because
Right.
the linseed oil will help um, your crevices, your little cracks, and those little tight spaces. If you just use some watered down paint,
Mm-hmm.
not 2 to 1, but a little stronger than that.
Yeah.
What I mean is maybe 3 parts paint to 1 part water.
Yeah.
Uh, and you take your brush and you just squeeze it in beside, like, let me show you here. You just like squeeze it in that corner right there.
Yeah.
Brush. Wish I had my brush here. Maybe I do. Anyway, squeeze your brush in here, and it will almost suck that paint into that crevice right there.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about painting that fine line and
Uh-huh.
all the way into that corner so that there's no missing paint anywhere. That's what
Right. Yeah.
when I first started was.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know how many times I've had. Oh man, there's a big old spot I missed,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
especially down in the crevices and the details and
They're
stuff.
hard to get to sometimes if you've got
Yeah. Yeah.
pieces there.
Especially where you got 2 colors in a meat. Like under the chin.
Yes, absolutely.
But well, Jeff, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a pleasure,
Yeah,
and me and you could talk for hours because we
I know.
already have. We have, so
Sorry, time to.
yeah, yeah. But I appreciate it, and guys, if you haven't checked out Jeff's channel, hop on over there and subscribe. He's got some good stuff going on. We have a lot of fun, and me and Jeff talk off camera often. So
Let me say
it's
something
good.
before you go.
Absolutely.
Ron is doing so much for carving and for the carving community. He's got so many ideas that he's working on, and check him out. He's a great guy. Subscribe to his channel. Throw some comments down there. All those comments and likes really help.
They do.
He's a good guy.
Well, I appreciate it. And yeah, I like to see a lot more, actually younger carvers get involved and do things, that instead of sitting playing the video games all the time, But I'm just a big fan of the whole carving community. I mean, I subscribe to every carver on YouTube, and I watch all their videos. I play through their videos, and I just enjoy the camaraderie we have in the carving community, even though we're, far away. It's just like I talked to Jeff last week, and he's in Sweden, and I was amazed that me and him could sit down and have a little conversation and talk about carving, and he's all the way on the other side of the world,
Jeff for getting his first
1,000, yeah.
First.
Yeah.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah, and he was like at 948, and I was like, we're gonna get you to 1,000 after this video, if we, but I appreciate it, Jeff, and we'll definitely be doing it again. And me and Jeff's been talking off camera about some things, and we're gonna get together and do some collaborations. And you guys, like I said, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, get on over there, support the carving community, and we're all having a good time. And you're gonna get involved with us, and if you haven't got your YouTube channel up, then why not? It's for me, it's kind of a journey that I'm just recording for my journey.
Like me can do it, anybody can do it.
Exactly, I feel the same way. But I appreciate it, Jeff, and like I said, we'll do it again sometime, and it's been a pleasure, and I'm sure the fans are gonna enjoy it. So, all right, guys, that brings the end of this one, and we'll see you on the next video. All right.
See you guys.
Thanks for watching.